Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. There's no celebration in my heart to discuss this kind of articles where you see United States being slapped, beach slapped, because I think United States at its core is a good country, has a very good constitution, has values that are to be followed. The problem is they get eroded, and unfortunately, under this system that exists here in the United States of America, this society gets deluded and delusional. That is a problem. And then you have the democratic system where you have every biped being allowed to vote, and you have the mass media that is free. And then you have the politicians who receive a lot of campaign donations, which in other countries would be called bribes, but here is, no, there's the process, legal and so on. And, United States made like any other country, and I don't want to say any other countries, but like most countries, because all countries, I guess, made mistakes. Otherwise, they would be perfect. And made mistakes more, I think, because it had more authority and it had more weapons, it had more, power, it had more troops, it had more money, it had a lot of other things that other countries did not have. So, in this case, I think United States hit a lot of people, and other countries, they just slapped them. And countries did not like that. And the problem is most or all the countries on this planet, maybe with the exception of maybe a handful, cannot retaliate. Therefore, the United States can afford doing this to everybody else. And it seems like that, not it seems like, it is, that right now the United States got tangled with one of the guys that really can punch in the United States in the balls. And not only with one, but with two. Not only with Russia, but with China as well. And China doesn't want, and doesn't, for whatever reason, right, or allow itself to be pushed around anymore. Russia is a good example, and these guys are saying, you know what, no more. So the United States used to function like this before these guys got this little global revolution, these guys being Russia and China. You do this, you are bad, you have to change that, you are bad, you have to change that, or you don't want to change that, well, that means I'm going to place sanctions on you, I'm going to use threats, blackmail, and then if you keep talking, I want to change your regime, and if you keep talking, then I will bring democracy and freedom without you even wanting that. Like I brought to Iraq and Afghanistan, and I helped Libya, Yugoslavia, and all that. All those things are bad examples. And the world has been seeing that, witnessed that. And China now says, you know what, you can't harm me, you can't. And the United States now has to bring diplomacy from, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, because it's lost its diplomatic charm. Why? It doesn't need. Like the lion doesn't have to negotiate. The lion on the savannah just goes and grabs the whatever carcass or whatever animal was hunted by anybody else. It doesn't have to negotiate. The same United States. But now the problem is there's another lion coming over. So they have to eat together. But this guy is not eager to give up its, authority. So United States invited China to have a conversation on nuclear weapons, like they tried with the Russians, and the Russians says, you can say that, we're open to talk to you. And the Russians said, but we don't want to talk to you. Now it's China's turn to say the same thing to the United States. And the United States cannot use its four so-called diplomatic tools from its toolbox, which are, as I mentioned before, threats, blackmail, regime change, and bombardment or intervention, military intervention. They can't use this with China because it harms itself a lot as well, and they don't want to get scratched or bruised or something like that. So what happened? I have this article coming from Semaphore, and it's by J. Solomon. China rejects nuclear talks with the US as it looks to strengthen its own arsenal. Well, after they saw what happened with Russia in Ukraine, I guess you better start working harder. So, China and Russia are rejecting a US offer to hold unconditional nuclear arms control talks, a move that risks further fueling global proliferation. Well, who's the bad guy here? Obviously, these two are the bad guys. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, I think he's a weasel, warned in a major address last Friday that the post-Cold War agreements guarding against global nuclear proliferation were frying and invited Beijing and Moscow to resume direct discussions on the issue. And I'm quoting, "We now stand at what our president would call an inflection point in our nuclear stability and security," he said. But the Chinese government told Semaphore in its first direct public response that it wasn't open to talks for the foreseeable future. And I'm quoting, "China's nuclear strength is far from being on par with the US and Russia. The time is not ready yet for Beijing to join the nuclear arms control negotiations proposed by some," end quote. Washington Embassy spokesman Liu Pengyu said in a statement, and I'm quoting again, "China upholds a defensive nuclear policy. It has promised not to be the first to use nuclear weapons and has maintained nuclear strength at the minimum level for national security needs," end quote, Liu added. Russian President Vladimir Putin's government also dismissed Sullivan's June 2nd overture, warning that no engagement on arms control can occur while the US is pursuing a, and I'm quoting, "hostile policy towards the Kremlin in Ukraine." That means blow us. What are you gonna do? More than you already do. Nothing. This is what I've been saying for some time. When the Russians will threaten to use tactical nuclear weapons on a clear field in Ukraine, and they will say this is a warning and an ultimatum, the Westerns will not retaliate. Even if the Russians detonate it, the West will not, in this scenario, they will not retaliate. Why? Because they have more to lose than these guys. Who? The elites, the so-called elites. I've made this point many, many times. The elites do not want to perish. They have global power. They have families. They have family coat of arms. They have all kind of children, grandchildren, Ivy League graduates. They are in power, money, power. Why would they want to just have everything destroyed in a second in a nuclear war because of Zelensky or Ukraine? Are you crazy? Who would do something like this? And these guys have more to lose than a, let's say, a Lavrov or a Putin or something like, or a Shoigu. They have to lose as well, but these guys have much more. The elites here are more numerous than over there. And these guys are going to put pressure on whomever, not put pressure, order, stop. And the same with the Chinese. So when is the nuclear weapons, do you see how the Americans are eager to talk, are open to talk? Why nuclear weapons? Because they know that's the only way, or the most probable way, is the equalizer. That's what it is, the great equalizer, in which if you talk too much, we end everything and you can't do shit. That's why they want to talk about that. Not about Ukraine and blah, 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 blah. No, nuclear weapons. There's too many. How about we, because you can destroy our life. No, we can't do that. That's why I am very much in favor of being allowed to own and carry guns to defend yourself. Because where I come from, it used to be like this, right after 1990 in Romania. Let's say you go to a restaurant or a bar or maybe somewhere, and have a little juice with a girl on a terrace, talking and so on. And you have a thug, well-known thug in the city, who would come over there and get everybody out. or go and start doing all kind of hanky-panky. And you can't do anything about it because you're alone or with other 2-3 people and there are about 10. Or even if you kick this guy's ass, you will get in return a lot of beating. So they will do whatever they want, these thugs. But if you would have a weapon to defend yourself, you would be at least the equalizer. Because if they had weapons, you had weapons. If they didn't have weapons, you had weapons. And if they want to look for you later, with what? With weapons? You had weapons. Is the equalizer. They might have more than you would do, but you can also take care of them. That was the whole point. But in Romania, what are you going to do? You don't have weapons. Some have. Thugs have. The population doesn't. The regular population. So, if they want, a thug comes over and wants to touch your wife's something, what are you going to do? Fight? You're going to get smacked. Or even if you smack, you're done. You're going to call the police? Really? If this guy affords to do whatever he does, that means he's already with the police. And Romania, don't hold your breath on the law enforcement, okay? All right? So you have to do it on your own. What? Are you going to wear what? A knife? He's going to have a gun. You don't have the equalizer. Here, these guys have the equalizers. Nuclear weapon. That's what they have. And these guys know it. I mean, maybe in a conventional war, the Americans might have more than these guys. You know, with all the weasels around, there's more numerous. Russia is surrounded by this, by that. Okay. But the nuclear weapons, even if Russia says, you know what, we're not going to send our missiles to you. We're going to detonate all we have on our territory. And guess what's going to happen? You die. They don't even have to send it. All the 7,000 missiles, if they blow them on their territory, this world will explode, will be done, this globe. So they know it. But these guys are not crazy, fortunately. So yes, China allows itself to say, you know what, beat it, we're not talking to you. You're too strong. And we see what you're doing to Russia. We have to make sure that we have the big equalizer that the Russians might be threatening with in the end if they lose conventionally, which I don't think they will. But anyway, they will always can say that, okay, this is the end of the line, stop or this. What do you think this guy's going to do? We're going to talk tough until the deadline comes. When a deadline comes, those guys are going to talk to the Russians. I guarantee you that. Otherwise, bye-bye. And that's not going to happen. For the reasons I already mentioned here. You don't believe that? Well, we're going to wait and see. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.